Okay, so we're now recording. So my name is Brent Mills. I'm the chair of the circulation committee for the Sage Library System. I'm also the system librarian for Sage, and I work with Beth Longwell as part of the Sage team. So if you haven't been able to have a look at the agenda or the kind of the committee meeting page today, I'll put a link into the chat room here. Which links out to the prior month's minutes, a link to the video recording, which you probably won't watch now, and then the agenda. And it also has a link to the working agenda, which I see a few people were on. Anonymous Turtle. So from that link in the main circulation page, I'm just going to kind of go through the agenda today. So welcome everybody. Okay. So I guess the first part of the agenda always is to kind of set, it's not Thanksgiving break, set the date for the next circulation committee meeting, which kind of usually has been the third week or so, generally on a Tuesday. So I was wondering if December 13th works for everyone that's currently in the committee meeting, if there's any problems with that. If there isn't, I'll probably just go ahead and start or put that in the calendar for next month. Yeah, just wondering if there's any time conflicts. I know it's the holiday season, so. Okay. So, looks to me like should be working out okay. Looks like we have a couple more people coming into the room here. Couple more Maggies. Okay, so kind of quick updates from the system update that I do on Saturdays. I kind of mentioned that we were waiting for 2.11.1. That's out now. So we are going to go ahead and upgrade. But I wanted to get people's opinions on best dates. So in the systems update, which I will also put in a link to the chat room here, there's a link to kind of cast your vote for the times. Let's see. Quick look. I think the 19th of January is what it was looking like right now. Just double check. Yeah. But there have only been 3 people so far that have voted, so maybe after the meeting, feel free to just kind of click on that link there and cast your vote for what the date would be. And we can kind of set that out, and as soon as probably here at the end of this week, I'll close the poll, and then we can know what our date will be. Yeah. So with the 2.11.1 upgrade, there were some bug fixes put in, which I'm pretty happy about. But just kind of real quick, what you can expect, some kind of highlights for me. Oops, sorry. Thought I heard somebody there. As far as circulation is concerned, there will be this new canceled transit item status. So before, if you had canceled a transit on an item, it would generally just go into reshelving status. But now it's going to be a little clearer. So when you do cancel a transit, it will get a special status of its own to kind of indicate a little more clearly what happened to the item until it's checked back in. because sometimes an item can get canceled and not actually be back at its library. So it's kind of helpful for knowing what's going on with items, where they are. Then the other kind of big thing was that there's going to be checkout receipts. So a patron has that option when you register a patron. There's a checkbox to have their receipts emailed to them by default. Yeah, and so that's a kind of cool new little feature. It won't affect any SIP clients. So if you have self checks other than the Evergreen one, so if you have a Biblioteca or other RFID type SIP device, it should not be affected by that. All right. So kind of excited about that upgrade. It should be quite useful for us. There's a lot of cool features, which I linked to in the last systems update. All right, so there's kind of been moving on, unless there's some questions about the upgrade. So hearing nothing right now. It's not exactly circulation related, but it does pertain to how people are searching and looking at items in the catalog. For Z3950, I guess for a while now, there have been some kind of encoding issues with outside sources. So if you're not choosing OCLC or Library of Congress, just be aware if the title you're importing has a lot of maybe diacritics or special characters. Basically, if it's a kind of like a foreign language record coming in, to check, items or fields where that would be in there. So, the 500s and the 245 and the 100s, things like that. Because we're seeing things like, this is just me doing a search for the flat signature, which does occasionally actually belong in the 240 for some music scripts we have in here. You can kind of see what's happening with the French Revolution here. You probably understand that when you have copyright and flat together, that's actually supposed to be an E with an accent on it. So it's supposed to look like that, but they're being brought in with those in their place. And so Beth and I have found all these records, and we have a mapping of, where is it? Which I'll kind of put in, which you might be able to see on the screen here, but basically, maybe I can bring this up. There you go. If you have an E with an accent, it'll look like this in the catalog. O with an accent, A. So when we see these patterns, we are overlaying the records to give the correct character. And this won't affect items that you're creating in your catalog by yourself, but it will affect if you're bringing in an item from like MainCat or something like InfoNet, I know is another one. And I've searched other catalogs, and we're not alone in this. There are quite a few other ones as well. And it just has to do with really boring stuff with Unicode and UTF-8, and basically how those special characters are translated between systems. So if you do see these symbols, feel free to correct them yourself if you know what they are, or alert Beth or myself, and we can go through and correct those as well. So there's probably, after this week, you won't be seeing these anymore. They're on the chopping block, so to speak. Just wanted to let people know that was an issue that's being brought up for searches. It's also important for searching. If you want to know Liberté and you actually search for it, you don't want it to be searching for a copyright symbol in a flat one, obviously. Okay. All right, and so this last kind of update and kind of new old business that I'd so we kind of have to firm up more or less our lost in transit policy. We have a current lost in transit policy that is kind of part of the existing circulation policy that you can see here. And the main thing with relation to items that are lost in transit would be, it's kind of hard to even really tell, but the main takeaway I have is that the item, the library that item was transited from is responsible for that item. But I was just curious if there would be someone on the committee that would kind of be interested in helping me, or that works in one of these libraries, be interested in helping me kind of break it out from our existing circ policy and putting it on its own. So we have just a single document 2.2 for lost in transit. If there's any people that would help me with that, that would be great. I don't think it would take too long. It's just kind of looking at what we have and then breaking it out and making sure that it's correct. Yeah, it's basically the lending library there.
Brent, this is Perry. You can run that by me.
Okay. Thank you, Perry. Get you in there as well. Okay. All right. Some sort of previous action items that were from the September meeting was a whole process. I was talking with Perry actually about the hold life cycle, kind of what's going on with items it holds. And generally speaking, it has followed what we are accustomed to. So like if you place a hold at your circulating library, it's going to look at that library first. This is barring any statuses or special events that happen. It'll look at that circulating library first and then go outwards, kind of in concentric circles if you want to think about it that way. But there is also there are two hold processes operating at the same time. There's one called a opportunistic hold. So basically anytime you check in an item, the system is looking for holds that item can fill. And so for the most part, if someone does check in an item somewhere, that item could technically fill that hold. So that could disrupt that kind of looking outwards of the hold process itself. There are certain blocks we can put into the process. So for example, if you only want your library to have holds looked at from your system for a set period of time and then move outside, that is possible. There are a few systems that do that. It's not part of Core Evergreen, but it is possible. I've tested that and it does work. And I guess just generally, has anyone here in the committee noticed any kind of strange behavior with how holds are captured or not captured that they'd like to kind of discuss? Okay.
Brent, I don't think part of the algorithm takes into account when the locally owned copy is due, the due date on it.
No, I don't believe it looks at the due date. It's strictly looking for an item in that status that is a holdable status,
Yeah,
which
I think that
checkout
would be
items are holdable. Yeah.
overly complex and it's not really reliable. I mean, it if it's gonna be returned like within a few days, you kind of want it to hold it in a little bit extra time in case that comes back, but I think that would cause problems.
Well, I agree. That would be a great additional check to have. And they have rewritten the hold targeter, which we're going to have actually two types of hold targeters we can look at um, for this upcoming upgrade. It was rewritten probably because of this kind of, like the tax code, maybe things you want little changes and modifications, and eventually it gets uh, pretty built up and maybe overbuilt in situations. But for right now, yeah, it's not looking at um, that due date, but that is something to look. And I'll check in the bugs if anyone's looked at that.
If it is something we could build into the logic, it might be a way we can um, help mitigate our ever-rising courier traffic.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for that, Perry. Okay. And yep, there are. So this is from last time, but I have been holding a weekly kind of systems chat for all kinds of reasons or all kinds of types of questions. I've had it every Wednesday, 2 to 3, and I've even seen people in the chat room at other times. I've done Saturday as well. Oops, and it's worked out pretty well. I've had a lot of librarians think it was even kind of cool. It was nice to get answers really quickly, and it's worked out pretty well. So I'm not on there right now because we're recording this, but feel free to jump on there at any time you want to see me. I'm there almost all working hours, and even past that sometimes. Um, if you kind of have a quick question you want to ask that doesn't merit an email. All right. And there were a few other. I'm tracking a bunch of bugs that I'm hoping are going to get a little more attention. I've been putting some specific heat on them that I should actually put over here. But for example, let me get this. So in some instances, if I go, I could even do it right here. So we have the basic search box here. If I do an advanced search and choose some filters here, so, audiobooks, let's do English. For example, we'll try Harry Potter. Hopefully there's a few of those in the system. You'll see right here that item language. That fills in from that advanced dialog to the search box. So if a person wants to do another search, that filter is not available on the screen, so it shows up here. But there is work on making sure that when you do an advanced search, this is not going to populate here anymore, which I think would be pretty good because not everyone knows what the filter group entry of 8 means, and especially not a patron. So work's being done to get that out of the search box once you do one. So just wanted to kind of let people know about that. And that affects all Evergreen catalogs, so we're not alone on that. Okay. And then since the holiday is almost here, I just kind of wanted to double check with people that are here if they know the process for, and if they have set up close dates for the Thanksgiving break. I'm assuming quite a few libraries are going to be closed at least on Thanksgiving. I know Hood River is closed on Thanksgiving and the day after. So does anyone here need to set those, or kind of unsure about the process for doing that? Well, it sounds like everyone's on top of it. So just real quickly, if you wanted to do that, that's just, this is kind of for the video as well. Up in that admin menu, we'd go to local administration and then close dates editor. And here I'm seeing Hood Rivers, but you would simply add a single day closing, put in the day and the reason. And if you're in a branched system, say Baker, Hood River, clicking this box will apply that to all the libraries in your system. And the one you don't want to use is this detailed closing. That's more or less for libraries that are closed for strange amounts of time, maybe an hour or so, less than 24 hours generally. So we do that, and then you would just click save, and you should see it right here. And there you go. And this also helps for hold targeting. So, and part of the hold targeter's logic, if an item resides in a library that has closed for that day, it will skip it over until that item is in a library that is not closed. All right, so I guess for current action items would be the transit policy, breaking out from CERC, and I'll be working with Carrie on that, and anyone else that's interested, feel free to speak up. I'm always open to an email or a ticket or anything if you're interested. So we've got the transit policy, and then a email about the upgrade to 2.11. And I'm going to have the test server set up more or less how it's going to look with loading more items by the end of this week. So that should be a way that you can kind of check and see if things are working. So for those that haven't seen, it will look like this, but with less cats. Something to also notice for to say for libraries that are using maybe some older computers, we have upgraded our security on our site. And to that end, there are a few types of older security ciphers that are not going to be accepted, which basically means if you have a really old browser that you're using to access the catalog, maybe for your patrons, if you have the option to, please update it, because there are certain types of actions that may not be supported on older clients. And by older, I mean like, older than 2010, probably anything past that should be fine. But where you would run into that is if the patron tried to place a hold or do anything through their My Account feature. And we're going to be moving pretty soon to HTTPS, so you'll no longer have that just sage.eou.edu. It'll be the secure version of that. Google is actively taking a part in that so that if your site does not automatically push to that, it's dropped lower in the search rankings, for example. So just kind of keep that in mind for your own sites. Okay. So it was a kind of short meeting today, but were there any topics that I either glazed over or didn't give enough attention to that attendees would like to hear about or talk about?
This is Perry, and we had an issue come up this morning that I think could use some clarification from Sage Circ, and it's about how to handle the process of establishing a new account when there's an existing Sage account. Do you overwrite the old one? Do you create a new one and merge the two?
Ooh, that's a good point. Because the Sage policy, as it currently states, I believe, is just one account per person, I believe, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And if you do merge a patron, that's an option as well. But so are you running into it where you maybe check out a patron and notice they have another account somewhere else? I don't know.
Well, our practice is to either do one of those two things. They're both effective. And the reason we do like to preserve the old account rather than deleting the old one, having the old one deleting, is in the event that that user had turned on their circ history, merging or overriding saves that for them. The call we got this morning was from from a patron who'd been trying to get a new account at their new home, and that their library had told them they have to call us and close their account before they could open an account at their new library.
Okay. So I'm assuming, did this patron maybe have fines or something outstanding on their account they needed to?
They didn't. There was no fines, no lost items, nothing. That would make sense if there was issues.
Yeah, so if otherwise the patron's in good standing, I mean, just from my perspective, I feel if the patron's in good standing, and there are two accounts, and this is their primary library, the one that they're moving to, that merging those accounts would be fine. I see, let's see, Heidi in chat here is saying that she needs to know, or Hermiston needs to know about them changing their library because they have paperwork they have to update or get rid of for that patron.
Yes, that's definitely part of the process that I didn't mention that we also make sure we do.
Okay.
But that's the library's responsibility. It's not the patron's.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe some clarification into kind of like a policy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I will. What I'll do, actually, just on my own right now, is I'll go see what the policies are like at some other libraries regarding this, and bring that to the next meeting. But try to get something drafted too.
Yes, if they also were Library to Go users, merging those accounts would preserve their access under their old card, maybe.
That's true.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah, they. I think the only thing Library to Go really looks at is that home library for the most part, as far as authentication. So their account should be the same if you're merging it, at least on their side. Heidi might know more, I think, on the Library to Go side.
Yeah, how do we do that without losing their queue, their position in the holds queue, or losing their holds altogether?
Yeah, Heidi, would you happen to know if you did merge, is it any time that a patron gets a new library card number, their account is they have to create an entirely new account, or I haven't run into this on my own, so I was curious. Okay. Okay, so I guess the patron has to contact Heidi by email to have their card number updated in Library to Go.
What if their old card number was also marked as active?
Well, yeah, if the patron's deleted, I wouldn't imagine that would work. Yeah, Heidi says that still doesn't work.
Okay.
And here is the email address for Heidi. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Hi, this is Maura. Can I ask a question?
Go for it, Maura.
So this comes up when people just get a replacement card all the time too. So if they had holds in Library to Go, I could email Heidi and they could keep that with their new number. Is that right, Heidi?
Heidi says, yeah.
With their new barcode? Awesome. That's great to know. Thanks.
Okay. All right. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to, after this, start on looking at those policy bits. Is there anyone else that has anything that we haven't discussed that they'd like to go back to? All right. Doesn't sound like it. All right. Yeah. So for the next meeting, we'll be on December 13th. I'll have a link for that if you just go to sagelib.org as a staff member, it will be in the main page, home page in the gutter here for the next meeting. So you can just go there if you want to find out. Okay, so I think we've got the action items set. Okay, all right. Thank you everyone for coming to the meeting, and I hope you have a great Thanksgiving break.
You too, Brent. Thanks.